All right, everybody, this will be a warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024. This will be part 24, I believe. Wanted to go over some things about, mindsets and race relations and misconceptions between us and things that tick us off and some other stuff I talked about earlier about, who's your guru and some of the things and misconceptions out there are put out by some people on purpose, I believe anyway. So anyhow, like I talked about my starting work at a young age and all this, and about the whole deal with white privilege and statements that Obama made about, you didn't get that on your own, you had help and this and that, and all these misconceptions, and there have been times in conversations, where I brought up, when Obama was president and people talking politics and stuff, to a black guy my age or whatever, or in most cases younger, and about working and stuff, and they'd be like, well, you're the exception. And it's like, no, I'm not the exception. That's the whole point, and so, like, hey, I was excited his first election. He seemed like a guy that was going to get in there and do some things different, and be different than other politicians, that he couldn't be bought, or wasn't just going to toe a party line and this and that. And after he's in there for a bit, I was kind of like, well, it just goes, show, it doesn't matter what color somebody's skin is, they're politician's a politician. And should have seen that from, you can just look at members of Congress and stuff. All of them been caught in scandals and all kinds of stuff, no matter what their color is. So, caught lying and not doing what they said they're going to do. So, anyhow, statements like he made like that, and then some other things like, remember when that cop, it was Massachusetts or Connecticut or someplace, somebody called and said they saw somebody breaking into a house or something. When the cops went there, it was an African American guy who lived there, and I forget if he had to climb through his window or something, locked himself out, or what the deal was. So they got into it because the officer asked him for his ID and stuff and everything. And so even when that would come up in conversations, and it would be like, yeah, man, that man lived in that house, and, they even, couldn't believe he lived there and stuff, and had to ask him for his ID. And it's like, well, I don't know, just might be a crazy idea on my part, that wouldn't be the first time a burglar would lie and say, no, I live here, whether they're white or black. The cop was just doing his job. He can't answer a call and have somebody come out of the house that, someone has told him is being broke into, and just, take them at their word that, no, it's their house. I'm sorry. And Obama should have known that. But what did he do when he was asked about it? Oh, the police department messed up. The cop was wrong, and then he has him to the White House and stuff. So, there's just something was stinky and fishy about that whole story. It's like, that guy lives there, but his neighbor doesn't know him well enough or whatever to know that, that's him at his house or anything, or, I don't know. It just seemed fishy to me, and something else to divide us racially, or to put the police in a bad light. So, and then you had Ferguson, You know, they hid the fact that the kid shoplifted. You know, they did all the stuff showing the school pictures and stuff like that before any of that came out. And then they had, you know, all the stuff saying, no, the cop, you know, just gunned them down for no reason and all that kind of stuff. And then we found out it was different. So, you know, they play race-based politics and stuff and everything. And then, along with that, with police shootings and stuff, you know, that, you know, they say white people don't get shot by cops. Do you remember Waco and David Koresh? Now, like I said, as far as David Koresh goes, I got no sympathy for him. He could have come out of there and the whole thing could have avoided. I feel sorry for the innocent people that got stuck in there and the children and stuff like that. And by most accounts anyway, unless they've been pressed to say so, David Koresh was a nut job that thought he was the second coming of Jesus. So, but you look at Waco, yeah, there were protests or outspoken people upset, but you look, that took place when was it Clinton? I think, yeah, anyways, a Democratic, yeah, it was Clinton, I believe. Then you look at Ruby Ridge, and then you look at that deal up there, them Oregon ranchers, which, by the way, the ranchers themselves, they were, if you know the whole story anyway, they got told to go to jail. They reported to jail themselves, even though it was BS on what they were being charged with and stuff. And it was an outsider, a guy that came up from, I believe, Nevada or Arizona, and got a bunch of people up there. And then they had that standoff at the recreation area or national park thing there, where they camped out and stuff. And then when some of them were leaving, they got ambushed or whatever by the FBI or whoever it was, and shot at least one, I believe, and killed them, maybe some others. But so that's, I'm kind of touching on what Candace Owens said before, but you hear a lot of these people talking and see it on YouTube in the comments and stuff that, you know, oh, white guys with guns go to the Capitol in Michigan, you know, because they're pissed off because they can't go to work and stuff, and that, you know, that's okay. Cops don't do nothing about that, but we go protest and this and that. And it's like, man, that's what I say about being real. Get real. The white guys who protest, or the white people who protested in other places and went to the capitals and stuff and had their guns, weren't looting. They weren't threatening to kill anybody. You know, and you can't compare the two. You know, they didn't go out onto an interstate and get it shut down. They didn't do all these other things. They didn't start fires. And you can say all you want, well, there's a difference between the peaceful protesters and the other stuff going on. Well, then you need to clear out and let the cops get the people doing the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or stop it yourselves. But now you see they're taking over that, you know, section of Seattle and stuff and everything. So, you know, if you're all going to mingle together and everything, well, then y'all ought to be rounded up in the same net. But just getting back to the idea that, you know, the perceptions that police are easier on white people and stuff. They don't shoot white people. And all that kind of stuff. It's a myth. And if you listen to Candace Owens, the way she breaks down the statistics the correct way, maybe you'll see that. But anyway, everything goes to this us versus them type deal. You know, and it doesn't matter. You can be at a job somewhere and you have the wrong attitude in the workplace there. It's us versus them mentality. against the employers. You know, if you're engaged in illegal activity and stuff and always on the lookout for the cops, whether it's smoking dope or, you know, drinking underage or whatever it is, it becomes an us versus them. Racial stuff can become an us versus them, obviously. Like even look with taking down the statues and stuff in the South of these Confederate generals and stuff like that. Now, to me, like I said before, you know, I moved from the North down to the South. You know, I ran into the, you know, my daddy's in the Klan, this and that type of people, and the South's going to do it again, and Yankee and all that kind of crap. But not everybody in the South is like that. And not everybody focuses on the Civil War. You know, my thing was like, man, I studied that in school, and it was like 150 years ago. What the hell? Get over it, you know. And, you know, but I knew plenty of people who had the rebel flag and stuff like that. And, you know, listen to Leonard Skinner. You look at, and you know, you got the stars and bars on album covers and stuff like that. But it wasn't about that they were, you know, proud about slavery or anything. It's just rebels. You know, the whole rebel mindset where, you know, we just do it different down here. That's all. It's more relaxed. I'm gonna go, you know, barefoot with my fishing pole down, you know, to wherever, and or whatever it is, you know. Gonna take my pickup truck out in the mud. Gonna, you know, however you want to look at it. It wasn't, you know, that they were racist or proud of slavery or anything like that. It was just that, you know, rebel mindset stuff. So anyway, about statues and stuff coming down and all that. And to me, it's like whenever I seen one of them or I pass through a place that's, you know, to me, and like I say, I like history. So to me, I go through Vicksburg or any of the other places, or, you know, or see a statue in a town or something, you know, to me, it's just, that's a character from American history. And I think that's all those things are there for, is that was a part of our history. Just like the generals and the characters from the North, you'll see statues of them. So, you know, then by the same token, you could say, well, Hitler's a character of history, and you wouldn't want to statue him anywhere. No, I wouldn't, you know. But, so I can see both sides of it. But I can see where both sides go overboard also, you know. And then you look at the struggle, the civil rights movements, and all the things were done wrong to African Americans then and everything. I can understand that. I can understand all that, and I'm all for going back and retrying things and stuff like that. But I'm also, if you look at LA 92, when them innocent people were pulled out of their cars and killed right in the street with a crowd standing around, most of which were cheering it on. There were some calling, you know, hey, you know, stop it and this and that. But what are they going to do? It's a mob. You know, they'd attack them too, even though they're the same color. You know, and you watch Reginald Denny get pulled out of his truck and all that type of stuff, and it's like, I got to ask you, you know, murder is murder. And if it's race-based, okay, you had, in LA 92, you had African Americans pulling innocent people out of their cars, killing them there on a street corner, yelling all the racist stuff and everything too. What's the difference between that and the Ku Klux Klan standing around and killing an African American, yelling all the racist stuff? There wasn't no difference. You want to call them both lynchings, call them both lynchings. You know, there's no difference. We got to stop trying to justify one over the other, because it's the murder of an innocent human being. You know, there's something, wrong with that. Well, being all right with one where, that, they were angry, them cops beat that guy and then they get off the hook and everything's like, well, and people in them cars didn't have nothing to do with it. Reginald Denny didn't have nothing to do with it. A lot of people who are very sympathetic and outraged over what that cop did to George Floyd have suffered, even though they were outraged and everything and upset by it themselves. Their businesses are, looted or, arsoned and or they've been threatened or assaulted and stuff like this. They didn't have nothing to do with it. So we all got to start thinking, that if we want equality, we got to look at things and call it out. You can't be like, well, that's reverse racism or something. No, there ain't no such thing. Racism is racism. And it's just not a white disease. There are plenty of African Americans who are racist against not only whites but other ethnicities. And so here's some of the things to think about, though. We went to war with Britain for our freedom. We had another war with them in 1812. And in fact, before the First World War, we were thinking about kicking them out of Canada, going to war with them again. The love between us and Britain was not that great. But through 2 world wars and everything, they're one of our greatest allies. We're one of their greatest allies. I've known people from England and stuff, and it's not like I'm like, yeah, you freaking British, and this happened 200 years ago. I'm gonna hate British people forever. We have a great relationship with Germany, great relationship with Japan. If we can, as nations, get over, the atrocities of war, the anger that there was against Japan from this nation, and how many lives were lost fighting Japan back then, and for us to have the relationship we have now, it's like, if we can put all that behind us with foreign nations, foreign people, we ought to be able to put some stuff behind us here in this country. That's the way I look at it. So you're always going to have individuals who are racist, who say and do stupid things. Doesn't mean the whole population is racist. And we have to learn not to let people use, for political reasons, the differences between us and divide us and drive us apart. And like there's nonsense of calling for getting rid of the police and all this type of stuff and things you hear from the street. Like I said, my guys, why the cops got to carry a gun? Can't they? Ain't they tough enough? Or whatever the hell he said. It's just lunatic stuff, and like lunatic comments and YouTube, trying to compare, the white protesters who are protesting not being able to open the state back up with the looting and the arson and everything else going on at a lot of these demonstrations, and Obama made them comments about they want to cling to their guns and their Bibles, which is why I have said openly, thank you, Mr. Obama and Congress, for warning us about all them white guys and their Bible and their rifles and their Bibles, who like to hunt and go to church, you really alerted us to a threat there. I feel so much safer now. You know, them guys might hunt and go to church. You know, so you're looking at what's going on now, and it's like, where is he? Where's Obama? I think he came out, made one statement maybe, and I don't think it was very forceful about people ought to knock off their nonsense. But and the way the news media plays it, you would think all African Americans in this country are for looting and this and that and everything. Like, you really, you know, you got to go on YouTube and some of the conservative stations, you know, will put African Americans on that will speak out against this. There's plenty of them on YouTube speaking out about everything going on. It's like, you don't represent us. You know, all this madness and stuff, and it's you know, and even the criminal element and the phony baloney statistics about, you know, cops just focus on African Americans. So, but that brings me back to Who's Your Guru and the cultural shift in the African American community, and a lot of it had to do with crack and all that and everything. But you know, you went from Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Donna Summer, who else? You know, Marvin Gaye, all the R&B greats, Aretha Franklin, all this, all of a sudden to these rap artists and groups and stuff that everything was about killing and being a thug and all this kind of stuff, and making money dealing drugs, and women all of a sudden are being referred to as bitches and hoes and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, our minds are sponges, and that's what I say, who's your guru? And also about karma. You know, if you're putting stuff out there, influencing a lot of these people and stuff, don't you think you'll face the music someday? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I was influenced, ain't no doubt about it. Grew my hair long. Every, you know, boy wanted to look like Greg Allman or Robert Plant or some, you know, a rock star. And, you know, during recess or when we were skipping, we'd be out way behind the high school there, car stereo blasting and, you know, tossing frisbee around, this and that. And even white music took a shift there for a while when punk and slam dancing and all that came in, but that, thank God, that didn't last long. You know, but there's death metal and stuff like that out there. So it's like, who's your guru? You know, because if you look at the rap, whether it's rap artist or whoever it is, could be religious clerics or preachers or whatever. They influence you to do something. Well, they're sitting pretty somewhere. They ain't out doing it, are they? They're sitting pretty with a lot of money in their pocket. Snoop Dogg's kicked back. He's I guess he was rumored to killed somebody or something, or that's part of his shtick anyway, his street cred. You know, he's kicking back. All these Ice-T, all these other people, you know, they made millions kicking back. They ain't paying the price. But you go out there, their mantras in your head, and you go out and act on it, and you're the one paying the price. Well, you might be paying the price for it now, but all the money in the world ain't gonna save them, you know, when they pass away. If God has a a problem with the mindset that they've put out there and how they've influenced people, and that's another thing too. Hollywood. You hear Hollywood all the time talking about the gun violence and this and that and everything. And see Snoop and all you other guys, you ain't OG. You want OG, go back and look at Jimmy Cagney and Humphrey Bogart movies and and stuff like that. And then the real OGs, you know, the Bonnie and Clydes, the Pretty Boy Floyds, the Al Capones, those are the OGs. And we used to shoot them down in the street with Tommy guns. Go back and the cops would pose with the bodies. But Hollywood romanticized, you can even go back to Billy the Kid, romanticize the outlaw stuff, romanticize the gangsters, romanticize all this stuff. Make it look good, make those movies, those violent movies, and then then they come out and say they're all on the left, you know, you got to get rid of all the guns and the violence, and it's all your fault, you hunters and Bible owners. Do you see what I mean about perceptions and how they can spin stuff? So, I know many people don't think about these types of things the way I do, but you look at the mantras out there and everything, and you know, oh, the Confederate general statues and this, they got to come down, but you know, they'd crucify you if they found out you had a copy of Mein Kampf or read Mein Kampf, but they give you Lenin and Marx to study in universities. A lot of you people, y'all are for that. You don't want to talk about, you know, the millions of people that died from their doctrines, do you? But you know, I had a copy of Mein Kampf. I never got to reading it, and got tossed out with some other stuff. I didn't have it because I white supremacist or Nazi or anything like. But like I said, history. It's history. What made this guy tick? So I was going to read it, but I never got to it. But I've studied a lot about World War II from the other side. You know, I know our side. We all know our side of the story. But what was really going on in Germany? What was really happening? What made this guy tick? Why did he do the things he did? And a lot of them had to do with socialists. He saw what was going on in Russia. He saw them moving in. He saw the slaughter of the czars and all that kind of stuff. So, and there was a lot of that going on in Germany. So that was part of what made him tick. But anyhow, sorry about going crooked there. So I wanted to touch on those things. There's a lot of misconceptions. You know, I know myself, every black guy I meet ain't a criminal. And I would hope every black guy that meets me or any other white person understands we're not all racist. And they should know not all cops are out to hunt them down. I mean, some of the stuff you get over the TV news and stuff is childish. It's like, really? You put people in front of this is, you know, what it means to be black. The cops are going to hunt you down and everything like this, and they're always after you and all this. I don't, you know, I think it's a small percentage of African Americans who think like that. But then again, I'm going back, wanted to talk about some other things because it occurred to me. Because I talked about rebuilding the cities, but driving here now, kind of in the South, not in the deep South, mid-South. I can remember, I'm not exactly sure it was, but probably even happened a few times, being on some road through the sticks somewhere. It's kind of like all of a sudden you're back in time 100 years, where the houses have sunk and they're so old and everything, the frames all twisted, you know, windows are busted out and even holes in the walls and stuff, and there's people living in them. I've seen it, and you know, in small fields out behind them, like there's still sharecroppers and stuff, white and black, mostly black, even way poorer than people in the cities. And it's like, I remember the first time I seen it, I was like, are you kidding me? in this country, there's people living like this, in this much poverty, and and we let all these immigrants in, and we do all for them, and all this, and and I think that's one of the reasons why Trump got so much of the vote, because when Obama was in, he didn't hardly do anything for the poor in this country. He focused mostly on the immigrants and homosexuals, so and their rights, and making sure he could save Pakistan in the right way, and other things, But so I think there's a lot at play. They try and divide us racially for political reasons, and because most people I know, no matter what color they are, they can get along unless they're a real prejudiced or racist a-hole. So what else was there? So I think we need to take care of even the rural communities too that have been forgotten, because I swear to you, there's some places you drive through and you wouldn't know it's 2020 in America, and that's in the cities, but it's also out in the sticks, and so I think there's a lot we need to roll up our sleeves and get to work on, and a lot we need to discuss about misconceptions, and look at what's going on, and the right now the dangerous thing is these people on the left, on the far left, and stuff are just wanting to take your rights away, to be able to, bully you if you're a Trump supporter, or you're conservative, or you're anything else, or if you not going, with their tear everything down, take everything over, crap. And I think we need where are you, Congress? Democrat and Republican. I ain't seen much of Congress coming out in force. Trump's the only one that's been coming out in force, and the Republicans are not even supporting her, and they're worried about their political hides too. And you see, that's it. People worry about, even though they're saying the right thing, they can't say it because it'll cost them politically. So with me, you don't have that problem. I'm going to say it the way it is. Anyway, I'll leave that go for now. Wish you all the best out there. Good night and God bless.